Hello, we are on page 15, Daf Tesvav of Sotah, the 14th day of study, and we continue talking about things related to her mincha, her meal offering that she brings, which is different than other meal offerings, but we also talk about things that are generally the way meal offerings happen. So we said the karava and the chol, that once the fistful from the meal offering that the kohen took, and he brought it on the altar, they were allowed to eat the kohen and were allowed to eat the rest. So how do we know that? Because it says, by the seres whatever's left over, the kohen and his children, Aaron and his children may eat. From when may they eat it? So there's a discussion. Some say only when it's already put on the mizbeach, when the fire touches the meal offering, it's already permitted. And some say you have to wait until the fire already had reached most of the meal offering and had burnt it, then you're allowed to eat it. Now the kohenim are allowed to, in their own part, they're allowed to eat, they're allowed to mix it with wine and oil and honey, to make it sweeter and more palatable for their selves. Why? Because it says that the kohenim are allowed to eat it in a way like kings. The mashchal, the dula, they're allowed to eat it in a way like kings eat it, not just bland, but very nice. But they have to be careful one thing, that it does not become chametz, because there's no chametz, no leaven allowed in the base of Mikdash, because it's flour, not allowed to do anything that allows it to get leavened. Now we also said all of the meal offerings need oil and frankincense. But this meal offering does not have any oil and frankincense. So the Gemara asks a question, but there's another meal offering that doesn't have oil and frankincense, and that is a meal offering that comes with a sin offering. So the Gemara says, when the meal offering is a sin offering, you don't have to bring, you're not supposed to bring oil and frankincense. So why are we saying that only this one of the Sotah, because of how she behaved, but there are other ones? So he says we have to read it a little differently. And he spells it out. And the Talmud, as often the Gemara does what the Mishnah doesn't do. All of meal offerings need oil and frankincense, and they come from wheat, and they come fine flour. Minchas chayta, the meal offering that a sinner brings, even though that it does not need oil and frankincense, because it's brought for a sin, they still come from wheat, and they come fine. The mincha, the meal offering that we bring with the barley for the first crop that came that year, the second day of Pesach, even though that it comes from barley, it needs oil and frankincense, and it comes well made, well ground. But this meal offering of a Sotah doesn't need oil, doesn't need frankincense, comes from barley, and it comes rough. So meaning it has all of the negative parts. That's how it's unique. So the Gemara brings down a few interesting statements. Rabbi Shimon said that the truth is that the offering of a chayta, when someone sinner brings an animal, he doesn't bring, when someone brings a meal offering for a sin, he should bring oil and frankincense. How is it that if you sin, you have to pay less? It costs money. So all of a sudden he gets away cheaper than someone who's not sinning. And we don't want to give a sinner the feeling that because he sinned, he gets away with more, he has any reward. So why doesn't it need oil and frankincense? Because we don't want his sacrifice to be as beautiful as someone is bringing it out of good and positive reasons. So by missing something, it shows that it's not the same beautiful. Obviously, bring it to atone, but it doesn't have the same beauty as something that comes when it's not caused by sin. And the truth is that an animal that's brought as a sin offering should also have neshachim. So with every animal, they brought wine, which was poured on the base of the but how come here the one who's bringing a sin offering does not bring wine? It means that he gains. He has to pay less for a sacrifice. So we say the same answer, that because you don't want the sacrifice to be as beautiful as someone who's bringing it out of their own goodwill or when it's only for a positive reason. But what about the sin offering of a mitzvah of someone who is a leper? Where there they do need to be poured the libations, to be poured the wine, but it's a sin offering. So we say the truth is it doesn't come for a sin. Meaning the sinful part of mitzvah is the whole process of your purification, where you put away for 7 days, and you shave the beginning of the 7 days, and on the 8th day, and the sacrifice you bring. I mean, those are the parts, and you get shaved. Those are the parts that are for atonement. The reason we bring a sin offering is not really a sin offering, it's just to allow you to eat now from anything that's brought in the Beis Hamikdash. That's why you bring it. So therefore, it's not really a sin offering like the other ones. So the Gemara says, if so, a Nazir, a Nazirite, someone who took an oath that they're not going to drink any wine and they're not going to become tamei, impure, by touching a corpse, so they can let the hair grow. There we know it's a sin. It should also need nisach, because it's not really a sin. It should need libation. So he said the truth is a nazir. This opinion holds according to Rabbi Lazar, a copper, that a nazir is also called a sinner, because why add more prohibitions than what Hashem gave you in the Torah? So that's considered a sin. Rabbi Gamliel says that just like her actions are actions of an animal, and therefore her sacrifice, he sums it up. It's a sacrifice, that's a food that an animal is eating. So the Gemara says in the name of Rabbi Meir that he said like this: she fed him a beautiful meal. Someone who obviously wants to get involved with the man outside of her marriage, an affair, she obviously has to lure him, so she lures him with a beautiful meal. So therefore we punish her that what you bring to God is the lowest of the low, the animal food. So the Gemara says, what about someone who's poor? She didn't give him any great food. She probably couldn't afford more than barley herself. So he said, no, it's not about what she fed him. Her action was the action of an animal to go on to cohabitate with someone who's not her husband, who's an affair. It's an animalistic driven action. Therefore her sacrifice is animalistic food, which is barley. So now we have a new Mishnah. The Mishnah says that now we're talking about the drinking part. So they used to bring a earthenware cup, and they used to put in there a half a lug of water, which is a big amount. Rabbi Yehuda says they used to pour in less, a revius, a much smaller amount of water, because just like you only write a few words from the Torah and you erase it into the water, and we'll see in a moment in the dirt that goes into the water as well, so too you only take a little bit of water, you don't do too much water. Then you go into the Heichel, you go into the Beis Hamikdash, the holy part of the Beis Hamikdash, of the temple, and you turn right, and there was a place which is a cubit by a cubit, and it had like a piece of marble, and had a ring on top of the piece of marble, so it was in the floor. It was a piece of marble. You're able to pick it up with this ring, and there's dirt inside of that piece, underneath the piece of marble. And you take some dirt from there, and you pour it into the cup of the earthenware cup of with this water, that it should be seen above the water. And that's what you do. So the Gemara now goes to understand the different things the Mishnah says. Number one, it says that you have to take a new earthenware vessel. That's what Rabbi Shmuel says. Why? Because we learn, like many things in the Torah, we learn where it's cryptic in one area, you learn from what the Torah tells us clearly in another area if they share the same word. So it says the word kli, you have to use a vessel, by the law of sight, that tells us you have to use a vessel by mitzvah, by leprosy. And just like there, by leprosy, we know it has to be something new. So it also has to be new. How do we know by leprosy you have to use a new earthenware vessel? You can't just use something that was used before. Because it says that you will take and slaughter the bird, an earthenware vessel, on living waters. Just like living water is a water that was never touched by a human, so too we're talking about a vessel that's new, that never had any work done with it, was never used for anything. So then the Gemara asks a question, well, really? So how come we don't also necessitate that you use living waters? We don't find that you have to take living waters. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel, who made the statement, hold that you have to take living waters. But the Chachamim, the rabbis, and others' opinion, that you don't have to take living waters. Any type of water works as well. Now, the question you can ask is, if you learn from Mitzayra, just like a Mitzayra needs also a piece of cedar wood, a scarlet string, and a haisa, so therefore it has a unique law. It has to be living water, it has to be a new vessel. But how come here, when we don't have those necessitations, that we only learn about a vessel? You can't really learn from another area unless it's equal in every way. But here it's not equal in every way. So Gemara says, if you look in the verse itself, it says you should take by the Sotah bikli cheres, in an earthenware vessel. What do you mean in an earthenware vessel? Meaning that in the earthenware vessel, I already told you before, by mitzvah, by leprosy. So therefore, we don't know it by Xer Shabbat by using the same word, but we know it by already, the Torah is inferring that it's a vessel I talked about already. Now we also learn, according to the rabbis, that says it doesn't have to be a new vessel, but still it can be a vessel that became black and dirty, because that's not good. Why? Similar to water. Just like water has to be water, still a clear water that didn't change in any way, so to the vessel has to be one that still looks like new, even though it's not new. Now the question is, like always, the Talmud digs a little deeper. What happens if it was black, but then you put it back in the fire and you, the same vessel, and now you sort of cleansed it up and now it's more white? Do we say it's already blackened and therefore was not good and it's invalid still? Or do we say because he made it look new again, it's still good? So we bring a proof from another area. Rabbi Eliezer says, it says that if you take the cedar branch by the mitzvah, the leper, the cedar branch, the hyssop, and the scarlet thread that you have to sort of tie together, and you put it over your back, and it got bent a little, the law is that you're not allowed to use it. Why? Even though when you take it out of your sack, you straighten it out, it should be good. So maybe from here we can learn that once it was black, it can't be used again. So Gemara says, no, there you're not allowed to use it because when you put it over your back, part of it, the branch peeled off. And therefore, it's not about it being straightened or not. It's not anymore a complete branch. Now we say, when you go into the heichel, when you go into the holy part, you turn right. And here we learn something very, very important throughout the Talmud and Jewish law, is that whenever you have to make a turn and you're not sure what to do, you turn right. So we always have to set things up that we do things right. Right always wins over left, because right represents kindness and left represents severity and strength and hardship. There was a place there that was an amma by amma, cubit by a cubit. There was a marble plate which had a little ring at the top. You're able to pick it up. So now we read something very interesting. So the rabbis learned, it says like this. One verse says you have to take from the dirt that is already inside of the holy part of the Mishkan, the Heichel. The other, I'm sorry, one time it says Bekarka Mishkan, you have to take from the dirt that already exists under this tap. On the other hand, it says you have to take from any of the dirt that you find. So what does it mean? Do you have to dig under the ground for more dirt when there isn't dirt inside of the base of Mikdash, meaning the dirt that you use in this potion has to come from the temple? Or are you allowed to bring in? But if you're allowed to bring in, what do you have to say you take it from the dirt in the temple? So from here we learn you do two things. You have to take from the dirt of the temple that is under that tablet. If there is no dirt, you bring in dirt from outside, you put it there, and then you take it from there. So you need to at least take it from, has to be for a moment on the ground in the temple. And that's the opinion we bring down from another supporting place, except Isi ben Yehuda says that no, that you take from the dirt of the temple. If not, you just bring in, you don't have to take from the dirt of the temple necessarily, either or. So why does it say Bekarka Mishkan in the dirt of the temple? So he wants to tell us that it means to include that not only was this law said in the tabernacle, but even when the Jews had a permanent Beis Hamikdash, whether it was in Shiloh, which was semi-permanent, or in Jerusalem, the two temples we had for 410 or 420 years, even there we take, we have to go through the same process of Sotah happens. So the Gemara says, wait 1 second. We're trying to say that in the tabernacle, when we talk about other types of impurities, we're careful that even in the Beis Hamikdash, you're not allowed to go in. And now we would think a Sotah could walk into the Heichel as well. You're allowed to go in even to the holy place. Obviously, you can't. So therefore, Isi ben Menachem says, we argue with Isi ben Yehuda that says that you can bring it in, you don't have to put it into the dirt, into the floor of the Mishkan, because the floor of the Mishkan teaches us that it also applies in the main temple. But he goes back and says that you have to bring it in from the dirt that exists in the Mishkan. If not, you take it from outside, you put it into the floor, and then you take it out. So this is the Talmud for page 15, and we'll see you soon for page 16, Daf Tazai.